If you've followed me for a while, it should be no surprise to you that I play and generally enjoy the Call of Duty games. Ever since I was 14 years old playing Black Ops at my cousin's house, I've been playing, streaming, and buying each year's Call of Duty game. I find that it's a great way to just turn my brain off for a while and just let loose, due to the game's simplicity, not requiring the heads-up attention of Rainbow Six or the hands-on approach of Battlefield. Sometimes it's just nice to run around and get some kills. This is where the game has always sat for me. Perhaps it was just because I never experienced the COD 4 breakthrough or the Modern Warfare 2 era of Call of Duty, but to me, the game has never been about being the best or the most realistic shooter on the market, just a fun one to play with friends. As some of you know, I never bought into the Call of Duty hate and just allowed myself to simply enjoy the game for what it was instead of what I wanted it to be. There have been Call of Duties I didn't like as much, take Black Ops 3 for example, but I just chose to get out of the game what I could and went on from there. It's no secret that Call of Duty is the most polarizing game right now, possibly ever, with the community becoming more polarized with each passing game, despite the efforts of the developers. But perhaps that speaks to the type of people that gamers are. Selfish. They want the game to be exactly what they want, which is usually exactly like, but vastly different than, a previous game in a series. But more on that later. With each revealed trailer comes a host of likes and dislikes and the most unoriginal comments known to mankind. But this video isn't about Call of Duty hate. I've done that before. This video is how the newest game in the series made me feel. As I said, I'm usually on the lax side, just wanting to enjoy my time in the game and not so concerned with how that time is spent. But with the announcement and the subsequent reveal of Black Ops 4, I felt strange. I felt like I was agreeing with the criticisms. I felt conflicted. It is easy to hate on the most successful, as they always feel nameless and open to criticism. It's the same reason why the New England Patriots and Walmart are always the topic of hate. They win the most, make the most, sell the most. But the complaints tend to be the same ill-tempered and misdirected attacks. This game looks just like the old one, this game is dead, a different game is better, this game looks like another game. This year, I found myself agreeing with some of the misinformed complaints, and I found others were as well. Black Ops 4 looks identical to Black Ops 3, and I don't mean in a mocking all Call of Duties look the same kind of way, I mean in an aesthetic way. Graphically, the game looks the same. This was to be expected, however, as Call of Duty's ID Tech 3 engine has been pushed to its limit for years now. What wasn't expected were the character and HUD similarities. One of the fun things about a game sequel is to see how that game takes well-known elements and changes them to fit the aesthetic of the game. In the case of Black Ops 4, nothing was changed. The same characters and character models from Black Ops 3 are the forefront of this game, with weapon designs and HUD elements to match. The HUD still relies on a polygonal display, particularly hexagons, and even uses the same font and health bar types as Black Ops 3. To someone who is looking forward to a new direction for Call of Duty, especially after Treyarch so adamantly pushed the "forget what you know" tagline, this came as a major shock. But they weren't wrong. Despite how the game looks, many features of the game have changed, including combat, movement, and level design, as well as some feature modes that not everyone was too pleased with. Making a first-person shooter campaign is fairly difficult. You have to find a way to balance gameplay so that each level doesn't just become a shooting gallery with different scenery, and there usually isn't a good way to introduce characters in a way that keeps you invested in their interest and care. Games got around this by opening up their gameplay to allow more gameplay styles of not only the player, but the game itself, such as Halo's iconic driving missions or Titanfall 2's parkour level. In the case of Call of Duty, most campaigns have been identical, with you being a generic soldier fighting a generic war and moving around the levels killing people, shooting gallery style. They've always tried to balance this out by creating the infamous invincible tank or fighter jet levels, or by simply adding walking portions to them. But not only do these not make the gameplay more enjoyable, but they create a motif for future games to follow. Some campaigns shoot for the stealth option, but these too start to devolve into shooting galleries. Infinite Warfare was able to break this tradition by making a much more dynamic campaign. The side missions allowed for more gameplay freedom, such as stealth missions and flying missions, and the game was long enough to build relationships between the characters. This, combined with a realistic tone, gave the campaign a more genuine feel. This brings me to my point that most Call of Duty campaigns have not been good per se, but fun, with Infinite Warfare being the obvious exception. I genuinely enjoyed the first Black Ops, Modern Warfare, and Advanced Warfare campaigns, but they weren't necessarily well constructed. Black Ops has too many levels of infinite enemies, Modern Warfare was just 3 games of similar missions in different locations, and Advanced Warfare had less than favorable writing, but the games were still fun to play. Now, a fun campaign has every right to be made just as a good one does, but after 15 years of every game getting ostracized for having a poor campaign, especially after the train wreck that was Black Ops 3 campaign, with its busy level design, less than likable characters, poor gunplay, and writing that would make E.L. James cringe, I can see why Treyarch chose to forego one. This is a topic for another video, but it has always irked me that a single-player game isn't expected to have a multiplayer component, but a multiplayer game is always expected to have a campaign or it isn't considered a full game. Treyarch has stated that there will be some sort of multiplayer storytelling, most likely in contextual details such as map design and character interaction, similar to how Overwatch handles their lore. If this is done correctly, I can forgive the aesthetical similarities to Black Ops 3, as they might be telling the story of how the Black Ops 3 specialists came to be, and their adventures beforehand. The only issue is, I'm not sure Treyarch is smart enough to do this. Regardless, the absence of a campaign in Black Ops 4 allows Treyarch the freedom to expand on the other areas of the game and even introduce some new things. Zombies has been a staple in Treyarch games since 2008 and has officially become a part of the Call of Duty franchise in 2016 when Infinity Ward joined Sledgehammer and Treyarch in creating their Zombies in Spaceland series. But Black Ops 4 has taken it to a new level. Never before has the community received 4 unique maps at launch, with 2 being cinematic maps, 1 being a map spin-off, and the recently announced pre-order map being rumored to be a remake of 5 from Black Ops. There is no doubt that the effort that normally would have been spent on a campaign was partially directed into the Zombies project. Since Zombies is such a huge part of Treyarch's success, it makes sense to improve it and provide more content for it. The mode spawns countless YouTube videos, speculations, and fan interactions that ultimately drive DLC and monetization for the game. Zombies is a personal favorite of mine, and while others don't share my opinion, I overall disliked Black Ops 3 Zombies as I felt the story was rushed and incoherent. I am interested to see what the team can do given more time. In addition to these Zombies changes, there is a Battle Royale mode being introduced, Blackout. Battle Royale in games is, again, a topic for another video, but in short, Battle Royale is what sells now, and it makes total sense that Call of Duty would throw their hat into that ring. I do not believe that Battle Royale replaced campaign. I think that no campaign was planned from the start, but Blackout may have been a more last-minute decision. Not enough information has been released on Blackout to have a real opinion of it, so I will just say this. It has the potential to be a fun and staple in the Call of Duty franchise, if done so in a unique and fun way. If you are concerned about Battle Royale taking over or dislike the game mode in general, just don't play it. If it doesn't do well, they won't keep making it, and if it does do well, who are you to tell others what they can or cannot play? This script took longer to write than anticipated, and during that time my mind has changed a bit. If it hasn't been clear throughout the video, I have moved away from being disappointed to being intrigued. After watching some gameplay and listening to YouTuber feedback, this game seems to be moving in a direction that is good for the franchise. It seems to be eliminating things that I've disliked about previous games, such as random recoil and weird weapon balance, and tweaking them to not only match their style of game, but improve on them in general. My intrigue is to try the game out for myself. I've already pre-ordered the game using the Amazon trick, and I look forward to the beta later this year as a test to see if I enjoy the game. Ultimately, if I have fun, I will purchase the game, and if I don't, there will be plenty of other games to play this fall. I urge you to take a similar mindset, because if we could all think with our minds instead of our hearts, not everything would have to be so complicated.